Hey, what's up, guys? So today I thought, man, it's been quite a while, and we've gone through um a lot of different things have happened really since the last time I talked to you guys. I think last time I talked to you guys, I was all the way in Colorado, going through my grandmother's certainly her funeral, memorial service, all that, and thank you for everybody's support first and foremost with all that. And there's obviously, I won't spend a whole lot of time on this video talking specifically about times in terms of a project and laying out a project. That there are going to be times that we're going to experience things that don't necessarily go our way. That's an absolute evident thing that's going to happen. It's an absolute. There's no doubt you're going to experience something that's going to derail what you ultimately from your goal. But it's a lot of it has to do with your mindset above anything else. We can go through experiences that can ultimately keep us from point A to point B, but a lot of ways it's our mindset that keeps us driving towards our ultimate goal, whatever that might be. And certainly with these past couple months with those sort of things happening in my life, there was moments of that happening. However, there were certainly other projects that I was working on that was on the front burner that definitely needed to be taken care of. And we're going to, as artists, have these moments. However, there are different ways to help alleviate so that when we go through kind of when the world collides, or you hear about Murphy's Law or anything that will happen, can happen type of a thing, you think, I guess I said that backwards, my dyslexia. But anything that can happen will happen. And so we definitely, as artists, as entrepreneurs, as those that are whatever type of artwork you're doing, illustration, whether it's in comics or any type of art type of project, this is really something that we can grab a hold on and try to figure out our best type of best practices, if you will, to be able to minimize the unpredictables that obviously happen in our lives on a day-to-day basis, and minimize those in a way that we can see this massive project that we're working on and try to break it down into things that are chewable. Now, again, with any plan, it's a map. It's something that we don't necessarily stick by to every degree, and there's very few of us that can do that because of our tenacity or various other reasons that we're able to do that. But really what it comes down to is two things: mindset, and the second thing is being able to treat this entire process as a map to be able to guide us ultimately to our final goal. Now, with that being said, there are certain deliverables within our goal that we need to be able to stick with so that we're ultimately getting to ultimately, in a lot of ways, our pay date. And that can look like in varying different ways, regardless if it's a grant, regardless if it's a show that you're trying to get in, regardless if you're trying, in my case, trying to print or publish rather a comic book. There's a lot of aspects that go into that. Regardless, the principles are still the same to be able to help divide or develop an overall plan. Now, with that being said, I'm going to have you all take a look at what I have basically developed here. And essentially what I have developed here is basically a way to plan out my entire project. Now, this was done in Asana, if you're curious, and I'll provide a link at the bottom. I'm not an affiliate of them. I'm not getting anything from them whatsoever. I don't even think they have an affiliate program. Regardless, it doesn't really matter what type of program that you use, whether you do this in Excel, whether you do this in some other program or Numbers or whatever application you're doing this in. You're still doing it in a way that is digestible for you to be able to see, okay, this is where I am today, and this is ultimately where I'm going to end up with the end of my project. and be able to lay out and figure out when you're going to be really busy, and maybe you can spread some of that out. So with that being said, this specifically dealing with comics and how we're overall going to develop that process. Now you can see here at the beginning, if I scroll over a little bit, you can see here I've developed my first draft. I just kind of put this in as a placeholder. I've already had my first draft. Actually, we're sitting on draft number 3 for quite a while. And so kind of what I have here is dealing with my final draft. And that final draft is going to take me all the way roughly to, I'm going to change my view here. Going to roughly take me to, basically, I have it all the way into mid-February. And I've just basically felt that that was kind of a timetable that gave me 2 things that I really wanted to do. One is I was going to, during this time, I would be also developing the characters. All the characters that was in this 28 page comic. Along with, I've already developed the roughs. The roughs in a lot of ways are already done, but this gives me just about a 2-week timetable period where I will be able to figure out what will work out best and play around with that, along in conjunction with kind of finishing up my script. Because as you start drawing and start planning this out, you start figuring, well, this doesn't necessarily work, this does, and you start realizing kind of the complicated areas where you're going to spend a tremendous amount of time in developing those panels, developing those pages in the comic, to pages that you're going to spend very little time on. And this timetable or map, like I said at the beginning, is something that will guide you there. It's not an absolute set in stone. It's going to be able to give you kind of a something to work with. Now, with that being said, I'm going to skip way ahead here. If we look all the way back down here, this is where we'll be finishing up our crowdfund. The crowdfund will be finishing up in June 29th, and so that will be kind of the last day of that crowdfund event, which is going to go over about a 60-day period to raise the amount of funding that we're looking for this particular project. Now, with that being said, there are a lot of other pieces that need to take place prior to this crowdfunding being finished. Basically, what I did was I broke it up into several different categories. And when you're working on your project, I broke it up into kind of your overall business in terms of, at some point in time, which I skipped way ahead here, but at some point in time, you're going to have to develop an expense sheet. And so what I have here is I already have a rough draft expense sheet made. However, I really want to spend a week's time, about 7 days, really going through all those different possibilities that I can think of in terms of that day-to-day process. The other thing that I want to do is I'll be able to determine my supplies, the expenses of my supplies. I have in here gather supplies. At this point, I would be buying the supplies. But also in here, I probably should be putting kind of a day where I would be going through and figuring out, okay, what supplies do I have now in terms of to what supplies I'm ultimately going to need, which would then help develop that expense sheet. So that would be something else that should go in here in between now and then. And then we also have in here in terms of business, copyright, any types of copyright of characters, copyright of the overall book, title, so on and so forth. And that will all happen down here. And so basically I broke it down into an idea of what sort of business things do I need to have to make sure that I have a number in mind with all the way back to my crowdfunding. What number do I need to be able to raise to be able to do all this work? And then also along with that, how much money do I really need to be making in terms of profit so that I can be able to pay for this time period all the way through here, that just all this work of, we're talking about, we're dealing with here 6 months worth of work. You know, one topic, and this is probably for some other video in terms of your productivity, outside of productivity, but as artists, yes, we should be able to be paid, and I'll deal with that topic some other time in terms of this vlog. But really what I wanted to show you guys today was just how to break that down. And I have an area for script writing where I have my final script. I also could put in here kind of other ideas of going through when I start getting into the type pencil and inking, might be changing my mind just a little bit in terms of the dialogue. And so that would be another area where some of that dialogue could change based upon the imagery that I've already developed. Well, that will really overall help illustrate the idea of the particular story that I'm trying to show. Then we also have illustration work, and you can see there's quite a bit of work here. Anything from the roughs, final roughs, type pencil, inking, lettering, cover design, and then coloring. And that pretty much should be it. And then also I don't have in here kind of makeup shots, if you will. Any type of shots that after all this work, yes, the story might not be able to be communicated through the pages or the panels that I've already worked so dang hard to illustrate. I might just need a little bit of time to be able to go back and fix and round those up. And that gives me a little bit of a stretch here, but we'll add that in at some point in time too. So that might be something you might add in somewhere along here. This also includes any type of proofing. So at this point in time, I put my lettering in here, which after my lettering is done, I would then send it to my proofer. And this is an individual that you want to be able to find that is incredible at proofing and that more than likely would be willing to do it for free for you. There are individuals in your life that are out there. If there isn't, find somebody. You have to, through your experiences, through whatever it may be, you have to find somebody that would be willing to put your hard work and care and love, that all this type of work that you've put in from here to here, and be able to take it and output it in a way of, wow, these are the corrections that you may need to make. And that give them about a week, maybe a little bit longer. And so this might be able to extend out 2 weeks, whatever that might be. You get that back, and then that would give you about a little bit of time. And so this would be kind of corrections. So this would be another area where I would put in corrections to that proof. Ultimately, once I finish those corrections, and then we'd have another week or so of that final proof where they would look at it, critique it, and get a much better, like, yes, this is communicating the right steps. There are other things that we might have in here. So in May, right at the beginning of May, right here, if we change to the month view, right in May, I was going to head towards, there it is right there. I was heading towards a Comic-Con. And so at that Comic-Con, I wanted to be able to put together basically a 12-page sample of the overall book. Now, I was also willing to put it in kind of a pencil or type pencil format and kind of make it really almost kind of a fun collector's item. And then I might even put sort of a blank page with the title of the comic book on the front, and then I would be able to maybe even sell that or draw on that. So anyway, I was working with that idea, but I would have that started to print at the beginning of April so that I would have it at the end, and that would give roughly about 2.5 to 3 weeks for them to print that book and then ultimately ship that to me. And then again, or if worst case scenario, I can move that back and based upon the timetable of whatever type of printer I can find to be able to do that job. And it's just a real quick print. It's down and dirty. It just gives someone the ability to, at a Comic-Con, to, wow, this book is really cool. I want to be able to support, ultimately, the crowdfund when that launches that same weekend. So kind of that, you're thinking about this entire process. You're also thinking about the marketing, how you might go about marketing it. And then I have other crowdfunding days or website days where I'm spending the week on developing the copy or the content for each one of those things, the layout design. And then I'm also thinking about how I might be marketing all of this. And so this is basically, I just wanted to show you guys today what an idea of what that could look like, so you can start planning out where you're going, what you're doing, how you're going to get from point A to point B. And then that way you're just breaking it down into one piece at a time a day, so you can ultimately get the whole thing. Now, I hadn't intended this to be some sort of a thing where this is just a guide. I'm not developing a template for everybody. That might be something I might do for my Tikvah Minds group. But really what this is about is just to give you something digestible so you can work off of that, develop off of that, and kind of work from there. And again, this is using Asana. I don't have any kind of recommendation for you, as long as you're developing something to get you from point A to point B and be able to chew these pieces down into small pieces so that you can ultimately get the entire project done. And so first and foremost, thank you for kind of watching this. If you stuck around this video this long, thank you for watching this entire thing. And that I just really encourage you, if you found this content relevant for you, share it. If you think someone out there might be that's developing a comic and they need this type of content, if I can say that word, content, to be able to develop their comic book that they're working on, share that to them. My whole goal is to make this as valuable as possible, regardless of where you are, regardless of what you're doing with your artwork. There's so many areas this could reach across, and so I hope that this content was beneficial for you. Leave a comment, all those sort of good things. Thank you for watching, and then we'll check you later. See you guys. Bye.
TikvahMinds.com